Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Only a Bag, an Italy travel podcast. I'm Darcy Melton,
And I'm Nathaniel Mallour.
and today we are talking about Carnevale.
We are, or Carnival, if you translate it.
Yes, exactly. I hope I'm saying it right. I've been mispronouncing some things recently. Like, I don't know if you guys all listened to one of our previous episodes on Naples. I said San Severo. I mispronounced it, whatever I said. There was another word I said wrong
We've been
recently.
living in this country, I think, for 5 or 6 years now, and I've been saying cipolla the entire time. And just like 2 weeks ago, at the guy, we buy onions, cipolla being the Italian word for onion. We buy onions from him, and he's like, no, cipolla, cipolla. So I've learned after 5 years that cipolla is not cipolla. This is fun. This is constantly learning. This is just constantly figuring out that word even saying that you've like, I nailed that word. I know how to say onions. Nope. Just been saying it wrong.
Yeah, but people are nice.
Yeah.
They
No, they're
correct us very kindly.
Yes.
And apparently haven't corrected us for 5 years. Finally, it hit the tipping point.
Yeah.
He was like, no,
That's
that's not it.
You've been here long enough. You need to know how to say onions now. Well, I couldn't have done this sooner. So before we get started in today's episode, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who has been following. We really do appreciate it. We just got our Spotify Wrapped. And if you do not know what that is, that's just when they basically sort of creepily give you a bunch of information about your followers. It's the same thing as Spotify Wrapped, but for your music, when they're like, here's how much music you listen to. But it's like, here's the people who like you. And it's kind of cool, though. I will say there's a lot of you who did find us in this past year, in 2025. So thank you all to everyone who's found us, who's been listening, who follows along. Even if you're just popping in for an episode or two, we really do appreciate it.
And thank you to the OGs who have been here all along.
There's 113 of you, apparently, who we are in the top 1% of your podcasts, which I'm assuming there are a few people who, like my mother, who clicked play and then never once again listened to another podcast. So,
Yeah.
of course, we're in her top 1%. But no, there's got to be a couple people, because I think even Spotify will tell us, like, hey, every time you publish an episode, here's X amount of people who will click play within the first hour or whatever. So thank you to you for keeping us going. Honestly, yeah, we really appreciate it, for leaving comments, for just keeping us trucking, so to speak. So if you'd like to follow along, you can do so on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can follow along. You can also leave a review. By leaving a review, you do help us out. It does sort of spread us to the next person. It boosts us in the algorithm. We also have a website, onlyabag.com, where we have tons of articles, and we're trying to add more articles every day. As I mentioned in the previous episodes, we're going to have a section on your first trip to Italy, or new travelers to Italy. I really thought I would knock it out of the park in like a week. It is slow going. I'll be honest. I forgot that it is not that fast to write articles. I was like, yeah, easy, done. It is not. So it's still happening, just slower than initially anticipated. And last but not least, if you would like to support us, you can do so using the affiliate links in the description. We're going to be talking about some Carnavales in this episode and Friday's episode, and we'll link to some tours as well as some hotels that we like. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can use those affiliate links to book your stay or your trip or your tour through those links, and we get a small percentage at no extra cost to you.
Yeah, you can also follow us on Instagram at Only a Bag
Absolutely.
Podcast.
If you'd like to. And Darcy will respond to your messages promptly-ish, I think. Not like throwing shade, just I think sometimes they don't get pushed to your phone.
They don't get pushed to my phone, so I have to check it frequently, and I'm doing my best. But we will respond.
Absolutely.
Do not worry.
And thank you all again, seriously, so much for your continued patronage of our lovely little podcast.
Yeah, we really appreciate all of you.
So on to the carnivals.
Yes,
Carnavales.
so Carnevale. Do we want to start by talking about Venice? The Carnevale?
Yes. Well, I guess maybe if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Just in case you have not heard of Carnevale before, I did not hear of it before. I realized, well, okay, on one hand, I mentioned carnival. That is also another word for it. I think in Brazil, it's spelled carnival. So I think a lot of people...
Oh, yeah, but like pronounced kind of like Carnevale.
Yeah, Carnevale, exactly. And I think... What's actually interesting, again, going back to this idea of writing articles, is it's difficult because I want to write articles saying like Venice Carnavale, but a lot of Americans and from anywhere, just non-Italians, don't know that in Italy it's Carnavale, not Carnival. So they'll look for Venice Carnival, but if they click our article, then it's like, oh, do they not know it's called Carnavale? It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing, which is all simply to say Carnival is essentially a celebration of something, I believe. what a super podcast start to this. Well, okay, it's a celebration of something, and I say this because it arguably has religious roots. It has Catholic roots. However, in Italy, a lot of the information you find on it says it has a start in the Roman Saturnalia, which is just a giant party, a giant festival. It tends to happen too, like Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras. It has this sort of end of Lent. It's a big celebration. You're going to eat rich foods. You're going to have a party. In Italy, especially, a lot of the carnivales we'll mention have sort of this anti-establishment sort of slant to them. So there are a lot of them are sort of like after a cold, hard winter, people get riled up and annoyed and sort of are like, you know what? We're done. So this is why I say it's a celebration of something. Of course, Darcy did look it up in the interim, and she has found.
So we did take a brief interlude just to double check that we did know the origins of Carnival or Carnevale or Carnavale. And so it ends on Shrove Tuesday, which is Fat Tuesday, which I love the name of. Also in Italian, it's called Martedì Grasso.
Mardi Gras in French.
Exactly. And so it's just a big behind celebration. You're eating all this lovely food before Lent starts on Ash Wednesday.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's also, and the reason I say celebration of something is in case you are not religious or not Catholic and you're like, I don't really want to celebrate anything. Most of the Carnevale celebrations in Italy are not they're religious, but in a very loose sense. There are 95% of them seem to be parties, revelry, sort of letting loose. A lot of them have their origins, as we'll talk about, in the sort of the church basically saying, you got 3 days of celebrations, you can do whatever you want. We're just going to relax the laws a little bit. And then people are like, thank the Lord. And they go crazy. So I only say this too, because I know that we've talked to people who are not religious or not Catholic and who don't really want to partake in Catholic traditions, which makes total sense. I just wanted to throw this in there in the sense of it's not really
it's not a religious. Yeah, it's I would
or
say
not
that
a religious thing.
The celebration is not religious.
Correct. Yeah, I would say so too. So this being said, the Venice Carnevale.
Yeah, absolutely. So we visited Venice for the Carnavale last year, which was lovely. And we recorded a whole episode in March, I believe it came out.
Yes, after the Carnevale.
After Carnavale, kind of talking about our experience. And we're going to go over that a little bit here, but also just kind of give you guys some more generic information.
Absolutely. It's also too, if you are going to Carnevale, or if you have some time in February and you want to go somewhere, especially if you're based in like the UK or Ireland or something like that, and you're just like, I just want to get away for a bit, then it's a little bit easier, I think, than the United States, where you have to plan now for a trip in February.
So when does Carnavale start?
Great question. Honestly, so for Venice is different, obviously, than every city, as I found, has their own start for Carnevale.
Okay.
Which makes it really confusing for everybody. But this year in Venice, I believe it starts January 31st, and it's going to run until February 17th. This is a great place to also point out the fact that as much as I like Venice, they are still in Italy, and they still take a very Italian slant on sort of planning and advertising things. So last year we had the most headachy sort of time possible trying to figure out, because you would read something that says every day there's celebrations, and then you finally find on some really obscure website somewhere from 8 years ago talking about, okay, technically yes, but practically speaking, it's only on the weekends that are big things happening. So with Venice celebration, everything I could find is that it's really between, if you're planning on going this year, 2026, not this year, but 2026, it's really the 7th through the 17th of February that things are happening. There is a little kickoff event on the 31st. On the 17th, there's a big celebration, and there are things throughout, but I think there's 2 weekends between the 7th and the 17th. It ends on one, and I think the 7th is like a Thursday, I believe, or a Thursday or Friday, and then it goes into the weekend, and then it's a week, and then it ends on a weekend, or Fat Tuesday or something like that. But the point is, I believe there are 2 weekends in there, and it looks like all of the events are going to be on those 2 weekends, whether it's the light show, the water show, light show at the Arsenale.
The Arsenale water show, I think is what it's called.
And that's the big, beautiful sort of lights and little boats. And
it's like a theater. It's like a play in the water with boats and lights.
Exactly. There are the gala dinners. If this is a big event, if you're like, you know what, let's do it up, let's do it big, there are these dinners you can go to. They're a few €100 per person. A lot of them do require you dress up in Venetian sort of costumes,
Attire?
attire. Yeah, like the sort of the proper Venetian Carnevale attire.
And you can rent those from several different shops in Venice if you don't have your own gear.
Absolutely.
And you can choose from like different, not generations, eras
Yeah,
of
yeah.
dress, which is very fun.
No, we were there because one of them is, I think, Balta is a famous mask maker as well as shop for this, and we were there looking at masks when someone was coming in trying on things, and it was kind of cute because they kept going outside to look at it in the light,
Yeah.
and then going back in, and then going back outside to look at it in the light, which I thought was very just I don't know, very very fitting is what it felt like, you know. So no, if you're planning on Venice this year, it's something to basically this is all to say you can do this as big or as small as you'd like. We went and we were just sort of curious. I think it was also a very last minute. Like we booked
Yes.
things in like mid to late January. We were, we're like, because we were going to go then, we were like, oh, we'll go like this weekend in January is what we said. And because, I mean, it was, as we've mentioned in the previous episode, Venice is insanely cheap in January. And then we realized Carnivale is in like a month later. And of course, I will say it is not that cheap for booking.
No, all of Venice knows that people are coming for Carnavale, so hotels get more expensive. There's a big jump in that January 31st, really, like Nathaniel said, February 7th to 17th this year. Hotels will be much more expensive than they will be outside of that window in the wintertime.
Yeah. And we even went last year. So I said the 7th to the 17th this year. And that's kind of, last year we went for 3 or 4 nights, I think, at that very last weekend, because that seemed to be like the weekend that everything was happening. And we noticed that we were very lucky to arrive, I think, Thursday evening. And we had like one day where it was a little bit quiet. I mean, there's tons of people around. It's tons of people, but it still felt a little bit like not body to body. But as soon as that Friday hit, it was slammed. And it was also even the price of hotels. Like I was looking at like, oh, maybe we just go Monday to Thursday, because it was like almost half the price Monday to Thursday as it was Thursday to Sunday. We ended up going Thursday to Sunday. But if you are looking for, I know I say half the price, I think we only spent somewhere in the range of 180 a night for a hotel room, but it was a lot cheaper than that during that week. So this is, I mean, we went to one hotel room, but there was like 8 available at that time. So there wasn't like a lot available. Everything else was already booked. We did not realize it was happening, so we were late. But if this is interesting, I just wanted to throw this all at the beginning of the episode, like saying you can go ahead and look now for things I would recommend between the 7th and the 17th, but it's really from the 31st to the 17th.
Yeah, absolutely. And as well in Mestre, which is the neighborhood across the water from Venice, which is much more affordable to stay in. They also have their own events going on. And even sometimes people who are a part of formally a part of the Carnevale in Venice, like the princesses, is that who they are? The principesse, the duchesses?
The 12 Marys?
Yes, thank you. The 12 Marys, who are a big part of the Carnevale. They and other acts who are part of the formal bit of Carnevale have a celebration in Mestre before they have the celebration in Venice.
Yes.
And people who live in the neighborhood in Mestre will dress up. Obviously, people who are coming to Venice for Carnevale will dress up in Mestre. So there are things happening in that neighborhood as well.
If I may, it is technically its own city.
Sorry. Yes, it is.
Just in case anyone from Mestre is listening, don't worry. We see you. We know you're your own city.
Sorry. I do think of you as your own city. I shouldn't have said neighborhood. It is very much a city. But I think people treat it like a neighborhood sometimes.
It's unfortunately an afterthought to Venice because, I mean, no offense, anything next to Venice is an afterthought to Venice.
Yes.
So if you happen to have a giant black cloak for some reason, and you're thinking, where am I ever going to wear a giant black cloak? Well, do I have news for you? You could wear it to Venice. I say that as somebody who purchased a giant black wool cloak from the market for 20 euros and have never had an occasion to wear it. And Darcy said, you should wear it to Venice. And I said, Darcy, that is silly. I'm going to look like a dork. I get there. I would have fit in perfectly. It would have been the perfect thing to wear. Not only were they people selling really bad, like plasticky cloaks on the street, tons of people had really nice cloaks on. And I thought, wow, what a terrible time to not bring mine.
Yep.
So if you happen to have one, it's also, I think we mentioned this in the episode last year. There is a giant, in the St. Mark's Square, there's a giant costume sort of competition. It's very Italian organized, again, in the sense of you might think like, oh, I wish I signed up ahead of time. No. They're pulling people from the crowd saying, hey, do you want to sign up for this?
It's kind of amazing. So every year, and because we've only been once, I don't know if it's consistently the same comedians, but part of Venice's Carnavale hinges on comedy.
Yes.
And so there's the big main stage in Piazza San Marco in St. Mark's Square. And there were two comedians, a man and a woman last year, sorry. And they were kind of the, what is it called? Not the DJs, the
MCs?
MCs, thank you. The MCs of the event. And they were there most of the day, throughout many of the days. And they were doing comedy.
Yeah.
You and I didn't understand Italian quite well enough to understand the jokes.
But they did also switch to English occasionally.
Yes, they
which
did.
helped.
Yes. And during the costume competition, they were picking people out of the crowd, like pointing at people saying, hey, come sign up for the contest.
So if you happen to have a costume and you want to wear it, and actually some of the people that were there would speak into the microphone, where are you from? What brought you here? And one couple was from North Carolina, a state in the United States, which I thought was fun just because I'm like, wow, people really do come from all over. Like this, they packed all of it was a very elaborate costume, but they pack it into a suitcase and bring it over piecemeal, I guess. And I mean, that is the occasion. We also have friends who there are photography tours and things like that. So if you are interested in photography, you can absolutely go solo for sure, save the money type thing. If you are interested though, there are tours that kind of bring you to, these are the hot spots in which costumes will hang out because it's a really beautiful background. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, make sure that there's a lot of permission and consent around the photo taking, because we've noticed, and I think we mentioned last year, in St. Mark's Square, there seems to be a level of like, when you're here, you are expecting people to take your photo.
Yeah.
And in a lot of the alleyways, I got the sense that people were really kind of moving from, like a lot of people in costumes were moving from event to event. So they weren't in that place of, you can stop me to take photos. And a lot of people were stopping, like physically, hand on these people, stopping them, taking their photo. And it felt a little bit like, I guess it's like, it's one of those, like, I don't know, there's this whole, I think in art, in photography, it's a big question anyway of like, when, street photography especially, like, can you just take somebody's photo on the street and then sell it for money? In Italy, you cannot. But can you take it for personal use? Maybe technically, but it can create feelings of animosity. So it may be better to ask, and even if it's, even though you don't speak the language, just hold up the camera, the phone, and be like, can I take the photo, kind of gesture. And then that seemed really, even when you were doing it, that sort of people understood, because it was almost unintelligible to hear people under masks, the full face masks.
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of the masks people wear are not just something that covers their eyes. It covers their whole face. So you can't hear them, and they may be able to hear you, but even if they're wearing a big cloak and or a wig and all this getup, they might not be able to hear you very well, but they can see you. So if you hold up your camera or your phone, if you want to speak Italian, you can say posso, can I?
Can I?
And on that note, a lot of the people who dress up are not Italian.
Yes.
They are tourists just like everybody else, but they have come with their getup, with their costume, and are allowing sometimes people to take their photo. I was under the misapprehension when we first went that there were going to be a lot of paid costumed actors walking around.
Right.
Because when you see photos, that's kind of the sense that you get. But a lot of these people, like I've said, are just regular people who are passionate about wearing these costumes,
Absolutely.
which is amazing. So
no, exactly.
If you gesture, people will often say yes. And if people, I would say to basically sometimes, like Nathaniel said, people are moving from one place to another and they might have a place to be. So if they don't see you, if they say no, I would just let it roll off your back.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody that we interacted with was super nice, but like I said, they're just regular people.
I think that's the biggest thing. It's just it's like if you dress up and not, if you go somewhere and people start taking photos of you, but like very forcefully, it can be like, oh, I was okay with some photos. I did not expect this. And I think that was the energy we got. Was some people were just dressed. I mean, also to be fair, people dressed up like as Shrek and stuff and getting their photos taken. So there was a lot of costumes. And just very quickly to end off the Venice thing, I just wanted to mention is one, there are also tons of pastries. If you are interested in pastries, the fritelli, they are the sort of fried balls of various flavors or fillings.
It's kind of like a large donut hole with custard.
That is a great description. Yes, it is.
Thank you.
It is a large donut hole with custard. Mm-hmm. And if you do not know what a donut hole is, imagine a donut with a hole missing. Well, you take that hole and you fill it with custard, I guess.
Yeah.
Sort of brilliant idea, donut holes.
And we have suggestions on the best places to find these
Absolutely.
fritelli,
Yeah.
right? Okay. And we will put the link in our description. It's an article that I wrote of the best place to find fritelli.
And there, it's a fantastic article, very well written, I think. And I think the only other thing I was going to mention, it sounds like I'm like everybody's mother, but it is chilly, so you do have to pack accordingly. It
Yes.
is, and I say this again, it is mid to low 40s last year. It was very cold. So, I mean, what is that? 5, 6, 7 degrees Celsius, basically. In the day, it does go down at night. Not too much. It's on the water, so it's not going to drop tremendously. I think there might have been a few nights around or near zero, not quite, but like upper 30s, so it's like 1 degree, maybe 2 degrees. So it just, I only mention this too because it got dark early. There was still things happening in the evening, and it was very, very, very cold.
Yes.
And
And
so if you-
wind does kind of tunnel through the
yes.
alleys and streets, and especially when you're right on the water. It's warmerish than it would be like inland, but there's a windy ocean breeze sort of thing.
And as we mentioned in the previous episode, I think it was last Friday's episode, it might have been I think it was last Friday's episode, we did mention that Venice is inexplicably one of the cities in which you can still eat outside in February. So even if you're traveling with like a family or kids especially, and you're just, I mean, I say kids because it can be one of those things where I don't know kids, but sometimes I feel like kids aren't telling me when they're cold, for babysitting. I'm like, are you are purple?
They just
Are you
start
cold?
to shiver. Yeah.
I'm like, you look really cold, but you don't want to put on the jacket. I don't know what's going on. So I feel like it's one of those things where I'm like, it can get really cold outside sitting and you're waiting for food, and it's just going to be a bit of a not miserable experience, but you have to be prepared for it. That being said, there are plenty of places to eat inside.
Yes.
I just mean this incentive. If you happen to be late getting to dinner, then you might not find a place inside. We kept feeling that because we kept going to dinner too late and realizing, where do we sit? So
dinner is around 6:30 in Venice, right?
yeah, 7:30.
Okay.
Yeah, so between 6:30 7:30, I think.
Perfect.
So if you it's early dinners, which is nice.
And 2 notes on eating. So one for dinner. If you want to avoid touristy spots, do not eat at a restaurant on what is the Grand Canal.
Yes.
Even if it
Yes.
looks authentic, it sometimes can be hard to judge that. I'm not trying to knock any sort of mom and pop business that is on the Grand Canal, but if it can be hard to identify. So I would just say, if you don't want to eat at a touristy restaurant, avoid places on the main on the Grand Canal.
Well, it's also, as we've mentioned before, just like any major area, rent's very expensive, and so it does behoove a restaurant to use not great quality food and items and charge a lot more than they should be charging for them.
And mom
unfortunately.
and pop places, family owned places, things that are trying to source better ingredients can't afford the rent on the Grand Canal. So they're going to be in other places. Cannareggio is a neighborhood with a lot of great restaurants. So yeah,
And we'll throw that in the description as well.
yes, absolutely. My last comment is that in St. Mark's Square, obviously we've said a lot of people
yes,
gather there
yes.
with costumes. There are some very fancy, expensive cafes in that area. So coffee at the bar is regulated. The price of that is regulated, but restaurants and cafes can charge you a sitting fee. So if your thought is that you want to sit there in St. Mark's Square to people watch, you can, obviously, but be aware that the sitting fee will be extravagant. So you will be paying a lot to sit there.
It ends up being like 6 or 8 for a coffee, like a little espresso kind of coffee, and then around 12 or 15 for a beer. And I realize for some places that is not bad. I know, like, I'm coming from the States where, yeah, $10 beer can sometimes be the standard price. So it might not be that much for you. But also it's good people watching, I think. It's not great. It really there can be a wall of people around you. So it doesn't necessarily feel like, oh, I'm getting to see people and enjoy this. It kind of feels like, wow, people are just right next to my table and I'm not having a good time at all.
Yeah.
So it might not be what you are expecting.
Yes.
So shifting gears slightly, since we still have some time on this episode, I wanted to go ahead and jump into the next Carnavale.
Yes, let's do it.
And then I think that on Friday's episode, it will be the same. We're just going to kind of run through a couple of different Carnavales, mostly because we've mentioned in that last Friday's episode, in the winter, it can be a great time to explore Italy, especially if you want to get a little bit off the beaten path. It's empty, it's quiet, it's cheaper, it's a lot more to do, but it also can be a bit miserable, obviously, because it's just winter and nobody wants to go outside. So this is just a great way, if you happen to be coming in February, to still get a sense of what things are like in the summer without paying the summer prices, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of these places that we're talking about, if you've been to Carnavale in Venice, these other places have a pretty different kind of Carnavale.
Yes,
Sometimes at
100%.
least.
Well, and the first one is Ivrea, which is a Ivrea. It's a town city in Piemonte, or the Piedmont region. I wanted to mention this one first. It actually goes to last Wednesday's episode on skiing. If you happen to be in the Piedmont region skiing and you're like, you know what? It's in February specifically, and you're like, we should do something fun for one of these carnivales. Let's see what's going on. Ivrea is close by, and they have a very famous Battle of the Oranges. It's only one day. It's the last day of the Carnavale. I believe it's Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras, is when it happens, and it's essentially a reenactment, if you will, of a feudal civil war between the feudal overlords and the townspeople overthrowing these sort of tyrants. And so it's people in the crowd as well as in the on the floats, and essentially you're just chucking oranges at each other is the name of the game, and it seems kind of like a lot of fun. It also seems
Messy.
Yes,
So it's a parade, right?
it's a parade. There are floats just with also tons of oranges flying around.
I love it.
And I do believe, go ahead.
Do the floats represent different, like, feudal groups?
I think in a certain sense, it's mostly just this is a house of this or family of that.
Got it.
And I don't know if the floats for the townspeople represent different quarters or just simply we're the townspeople or family so and so.
Got it.
But it very much seems to be more like that sort of we're focused on throwing oranges at each other.
I love it.
I know. I love because like, everything I could find on it is just like we're just here to throw oranges at each other.
If you look up pictures of it, it's a lot of oranges.
Yeah, it really is.
It's not just some oranges. Like, the ground gets absolutely covered.
Yeah, and it does. So and it basically ends with a traditional meal of polenta and cod in the Borgo, in the historic center of town, basically the Centro Storico, the historic center of town. So it seems like kind of fun. It's chill, small, but like I say chill, what am I talking about? It does attract a lot of visitors, both from Italy and from outside of Italy. So if you are interested in this, you will not be the only one there.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
It seems really fun.
It genuinely, yeah. I mean, especially if you are skiing and you're just out and about for the day and you're like, you know what, let's go do something totally different. It does seem like a huge thing.
It's gotta smell great.
I know, right? And I do believe there was one. I think it was their website. I read if you don't want to be part of it, you can wear a red hat and stand behind these nets, and it's supposed to like kind of mark you as a sort of
non-participating viewer.
Yeah, viewer, exactly. It's sort of like, please don't throw anything at my head, which I thought was nice. Yes, so it's not like when you're there you have to be, because I think some people do arrive and don't realize that. Oh, it's a lot of oranges and you're going to get filthy.
Yeah.
So, and especially if you're there for the day, you have to take a train back or a bus or a car.
For sure.
You're going to be smelling like orange juice the whole way. So there are ways to enjoy it without necessarily being part of it.
Yeah, that's good. Especially for people, if you have a severe allergy to oranges or citrus, obviously you would not want to participate in this. But sometimes for me, like if I get too much orange juice on my face, if I'm eating an orange, it will make me itchy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good to know that you can just kind of stand back and watch it without getting oranges all over you.
Absolutely. And I was going to mention more, but I think we're going to leave it off here and do the rest on Friday because I realized they sort of run together nicer then. And we've hit like a nice stopping spot now.
Okay. I
if
love
that makes
it.
sense.
Yeah.
I'm doing this live. We're negotiating this live. So with that being said, we hope you tune in on Friday's episode where we continue to talk about Carnevale in Italy.
I'm excited.
Me too.
All right.
It'll be mere minutes for us, but I'm still excited.
We'll talk to you on Friday. Tanti abbracci.